It's the last day of 6th grade, and there are only seconds left before the final bell rings and school is officially out for summer. An excitable 11-year-old girl sits at her desk, bouncing her leg in anticipation and watching the
She's
clock.
so excited.
Soon, she'll have 3 glorious
A little
months
too
of
excited.
freedom. But more importantly, she can take her mom up on a life-changing promise. They made a deal when they moved to this new town. If she could get through 6th grade with straight A's and good feedback from her teachers, she could finally get a pet of her own. There were some stipulations, of course. The pet can't be too big, can't make a lot of noise, and needs to be something she can take care of by herself. It was hard work, but she buckled down, studied hard, and even found a math tutor. The time is now in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The last bell of the year rings, and the class erupts into cheers. Summer's here. She shoves her books into her bag and
We've
runs out
never
the door
done
so
that
quickly,
in any
she
school
barely
I've been
catches her teacher's parting words of, "Have a great summer vacation, everyone." The halls are swamped with kids all rushing toward the buses, their parents' cars,
Cheered
or their
for
final
summer
walk home of
vacation.
the school year. She's right there with them, the promise of the day putting an extra spring in her step. Many of the faces in the hall are still unfamiliar. After a year of being the new kid in town, she hasn't made many friends, but none of that matters now. She's going to get a special friend today, something all her own that she can nurture, play with, and won't ever have to worry about impressing. It's only a short walk to the pet store, and then an even shorter walk to her house. As she makes her way down the sidewalk, the sun beaming down on her smiling face, the girl lets her mind wander. What kind of pet should she get? A dog needs to be walked. That might be too much work. A fish? Maybe, but you can't play with a fish. You can't pet a fish, or at least it won't be happy if you try. She remembers a pet tarantula her eccentric aunt once had and shudders. No spiders, definitely not. She wants something friendly, something small enough that her mom won't complain, but something she can cuddle and really bond with. Whatever it ends up being, she's going to take great care of it. The walk feels much longer than it is, the anticipation stretching the minutes until they feel like hours. She spots the sign in the shape of a dog playing with a ball, and her heart skips a beat. She's reached the pet store. Inside, there are an overwhelming number of options. She walks through the reptile
Is she
section,
choosing
pressing
the
her
pet
face
by
to the class of
herself?
tanks housing iguanas, slithery snakes, tiny darting lizards with brightly colored tails. Nearby, there are fat green tree frogs and bumpy toads with huge watery eyes. She briefly pauses at the fish, enticed by their vivid colors and the staggering variety of shapes and sizes. But a fish is such a boring pet, she thinks. What can you even do with a fish? She moves on, looking at a
Feed
litter
it,
of
and
fluffy
that's it.
tabby kittens. They romp and roll around on top of each other, flicking their tails and stretching their soft paws. They're adorable, and her heart melts. But then she thinks about having to scoop a litter box and decides to move on. There are roly-poly hamsters and sleek-looking rats, tiny white mice with pink eyes and gerbils running on wheels. Suddenly, a sign catches her eye. Exotic pets, it reads. What could be over there? She tiptoes into the section, almost feeling like she's stumbled into somewhere she shouldn't be. There are ferrets wiggling around and playing with a ball, fluffy chinchillas that look impossibly plush and soft to the touch, little sugar gliders peeking out of cloth pouches with wide eyes. There's even a skunk blinking at her curiosity. But nothing feels quite right. None of these pets seem like the one she has to bring home.
Be a skunk. Who the
Then,
fuck
out of the corner of her eye,
takes
she
a
spots
pet
something
skunk?
curious. A row of small cardboard packages covered with inviting cartoonish text, advertising something called a custom pet. She picks up one of the packages and reads the description. It sounds impossible, too good to be true. Just buy these packaged eggs, place them anywhere in your house, and a perfectly matched pet will hatch and fit right in. It will become exactly the kind of pet that you need. She looks for any sort of fine print, something that might indicate this is a toy or some kind of joke, but it looks real. Could it be? Shyly, the girl takes one of the packages up to the cash register. The employee goes to scan it, but there's no barcode. Did you bring this in with you? The cashier asks. She shakes her head.
Interesting.
Okay, well,
you can't
we don't sell these,
withstand
so
mystery box.
I guess you can just take it? The girl's eyes go wide. Really? She can
You
just
look-
have it for free?
No
The
barcode.
cashier is already waving her off, beckoning the next customer to come check out. Not wanting to question her good luck, she takes off without a second thought. The run
Why did
home
her
from the pet
mom
store is a total
take
blur
her?
of excitement. All she wants to do is get inside, make a peanut butter sandwich, and figure out where to put her new pet's egg before her mom gets home from work. Not that she's doing anything wrong. It's just easier if she takes care of things before her mom can ask too many questions. She's doing them both a favor, really, taking care of all the logistics so her mom doesn't have to worry about it. She pulls her house key from her pocket and unlocks the door with shaking hands. It's almost time. Forget the sandwich. The sandwich can wait. She needs to get upstairs to her room right now and start her life with her new pet, whatever it ends up being. She throws her backpack on her bed and sits down on the floor, tearing open the cardboard packaging. Inside, there are 6 tiny eggs sealed in plastic. She just wants one pet, so she'll start with one egg for now. Of course, if the pet ends up being lonely, maybe it'll want a friend? She shakes off the thought. She can figure all of those details out later. She's just about to puncture the plastic so the egg can breathe when she stops. Where should she put it? She was so excited to leave the store she forgot to pick up a tank or terrarium or somewhere a traditional pet would live.
Wait, her mom
Packaging
gave her
says
the
these
money
pets
to
can live
do
anywhere,
this?
but do they really mean anywhere? If she does something wrong and her new pet is hurt or doesn't hatch at all, it'll just break her heart. Then she spots a potential solution. An old dollhouse, frilly in pastel pink and surprisingly spacious inside, sits next to her bed. She hasn't played with dolls in a while, insisting she was too old for them when she started 6th grade. But now, she's thrilled that she didn't get rid of her dollhouse just yet. Even if the dolls don't live there anymore, maybe now it can be a home for something new, for whatever hatches out of this strange little egg. Carefully, she breaks the plastic seal on the egg and places it inside the dollhouse. All of the doll furniture and little plastic choking hazards are gone, leaving only a pretty pink Victorian-style enclosure where the egg can safely hatch. Now, all she has to do is wait. Later that night, the girl wakes from a deep sleep to the sound of something moving inside the dollhouse. The skitter of tiny legs, the rustling of something inside the formerly vacant dollhouse. She sits up and is about to go peek inside when a chill of fear runs down her spine. What if it's something horrible? She doesn't know what kind of eggs those were. She'd never seen anything like them before. What if it's a spider?
Yeah, this is why
worm, or
you
some
should
other
have gone
awful
with
monstrous
your
thing she
parents.
can't even imagine. And she brought it into her home, to where she and her mom sleep without even questioning it. She sits for a moment, the only
Now
sound
you're
of
thinking
rustling
about
of the
that?
thing in the dollhouse and her own short, panicked breaths. Then there's another sound, light and sweet, like a little bird chirping. It's coming from the dollhouse. Curiosity finally gets the better of her, and she opens the dollhouse, lifting the roof off. Inside, she spots it. Her new pet. Feathery soft fur, pastel pink and white, covers the little animal, which is currently exploring its new home delightedly. It flicks around a poofy little tail that looks a bit like a
Damn
lavender
Pokemon.
feather duster, and stops to blink up at her with 2 large, friendly purple eyes. Slowly, she reaches a hand down to pet the animal, and it nuzzles into her palm, body vibrating with something like a kitten's purr. Any tension she felt before melts out of her body as she realizes the packaging was not lying. She put the pet in an environment that was comforting, sweet, happy, a piece of childlike joy, and it had become the living embodiment of those things. For a brief
You don't
moment,
know what this
she
thing
wonders how
eats.
she'll explain this new addition to the
Probably eats
household,
human
what she'll need to
flesh.
feed it, and what her mom will say. But then her new best friend chirps happily again, and all she can think is, this is going to be an amazing summer. Things worked out very well for the girl. Meanwhile, other families across town were screaming in horror as a tiny fire-breathing creature set their drapes ablaze, and another slowly dropped down from the ceiling on a silvery thread, blending into the shadows. This girl was not the only child to bring home one of these miraculous pets and hatch it in her home.
Oh, so
and
it's
other
just
children
a
were much less
random-
careful about where they put the eggs.
The
Of
random
course,
bit.
the children weren't to blame here. The blame lay with whoever was behind the design and widespread release of these odd little animals, also known as
She just got lucky.
SCP-1550. SCP-1550 is a
Fucking
species
heart
of artificially
legs.
synthesized creatures of unknown classification who are highly adaptable to any given
Oh, that's
environment.
the fucking
Their larvae will
monster
develop,
from
grow, and change to
Real
fit whatever
Monsters.
setting their eggs are placed in. Though adult specimens vary greatly in appearance, they all have markings on their underbelly that read, a Dr. Wondertainment trademark. Because of their highly adaptable nature, it is uncertain exactly what the original form of these creatures might look like. SCP-1550 eggs are 1 centimeter long, beige in color, and stored in airtight plastic packaging that prevents them from hatching until they are exposed to the outside air. The SCP Foundation first discovered SCP-1550 after a collection of bizarre cardboard packages were found in the exotic pets section of a pet store. None of the workers had ever seen these packages before and had never even heard of SCP-1550 prior to being asked about it. The packages were brought into containment immediately and were found to each contain 6 SCP-1550 eggs in airtight containers. The original packaging also contained an instruction leaflet, which I've managed to get my hands on a copy of. It reads, "Hey kids, your parents aren't letting you get a dog or cat? Don't fret, buy a Dr. Wondertainment custom pet. A Dr. Wondertainment custom pet is far superior to an ordinary and boring cat or dog due to their original Adapto eggs packaging, a Dr. Wondertainment invention. Just leave your custom pet Adapto eggs around the house, and when they hatch, they'll fit right in. Perfect for apartments. To get your very own custom pets is easy, kids. Just put an egg in your house and break the plastic seal to give your new pet some air so it can hatch. Your new pet will be perfect for where you live, wherever you live. If your new custom pet seems lonely, just add another Adapto egg and get him a new friend. Dr. Wondertainment is not responsible for injuries or death caused by this or any other product. Wondertainment custom pets are shipped out pre-fixed." Who exactly is this Dr. Wondertainment? A person? A corporation? A highly intelligent octopus with a penchant for toy design? The identity of the force behind the trademark is undetermined, but whatever Dr. Wondertainment is, one thing is certain. The toys they create are highly unusual. Dozens of Wondertainment's creations have been contained by the SCP Foundation, including SCP-2855, SCP-2396, and SCP-111. They range from useful to whimsical to downright destructive, and the motives behind each invention are currently unknown. SCP-1550 is just one in a long line of anomalous toys from the shadowy toymaker. And so, like they have with so many other Wondertainment products, the research staff at the Foundation decided to perform some exploratory tests on these supposed custom pets. First, one SCP-1550 egg was placed in a tank of seawater and left to hatch. When it did, it produced a specimen with gills all along its upper back, behind its eyes, an array of flat and broad tails it could use to swim efficiently. Further examination of the creature revealed that it excreted special mucus to protect its eyes from the salt water, and a swim bladder that was discovered during dissection. The skin of the creature was a mottled blue, giving it natural camouflage in its seawater environment. Next, the team decided to place an egg in fresh water and see what different adaptations were produced. A tank was filled with water from a river behind the testing site, and the egg was placed inside until it hatched. Interestingly, this specimen of SCP-1550 did not possess any gills, suggesting similar circumstances would not necessarily produce the same adaptations. Instead, this specimen had enlarged lungs and a thin, streamlined body for more efficient movement. Next, the team prepared a terrarium meant to simulate the ecosystem of a temperate forest and placed the next egg inside. When it hatched, it produced a specimen of SCP-1550 covered in a layer of brown fur, with a ridged underbelly resembling that of a snake. It also had a tail consisting of large tentacles. Along the ridged underbelly, there was a smooth patch of skin with the Dr. Wondertainment logo printed, like a tattoo. The team prepared a different terrarium that simulated a desert ecosystem and allowed an egg to hatch inside. The resulting specimen was cold-blooded, tan in color to blend in with the sand, and skilled at burrowing quickly to protect itself from outside stressors. It was also, notably, 1 centimeter larger than the previous specimens. The final terrarium was made to simulate the environment of an average urban apartment. The egg that hatched inside produced a creature with leathery skin and eyes placed similarly to those of a chameleon. The demeanor of the specimen was noticeably friendlier than its predecessors, and it acted more like a domesticated house pet than a wild animal. Its most impressive adaptation was its method of eating. Behind the specimen's jaw, there were strands of baleen like those found in whales, which allowed the creature to filter feed on dust and crumbs from the terrarium floor. After these experiments proved successful, the research team decided to test the eggs in more extreme environments. One egg was placed in a vat of molten iron. It promptly burst into flames and was completely destroyed. The head researcher responded, "Well, what did you expect to happen?" Which seems like a fair point. The next egg was placed inside a vacuum chamber, which was then depressurized. The egg promptly exploded, covering the inside of the chamber in an unidentifiable slime. These 2 less than successful experiments led the research team to the conclusion that SCP-1550 eggs cannot survive in conditions that would be uninhabitable for any other animal. There are limits to the creature's adaptability. But what would happen to an egg placed in a hostile environment filled
Drop
with
it in
something
a very
recognizable?
trench.
A vacuum chamber was filled with seawater, and an egg was placed inside. The chamber was then pressurized to 15,750 psi. This time, the egg was not destroyed, but instead was able to successfully hatch. The resulting SCP-1550
anglerfish?
specimen bore a heavy resemblance to several deep-sea creatures, most notably the anglerfish. Like the anglerfish, the creature had a bioluminescent lure dangling from its forehead. It also had gills, dark gray-blue skin, flat and webbed fins, and enlarged eyes twice the size of those found on other specimens. Its teeth were sharp and ridged, similar to those of a shark. The head researcher made a note on this portion of the experiment log, asking, just what kind of child Dr. Wondertainment is trying to sell these things to that they could live in conditions where a creature like that could be kept as a pet. All adult specimens of SCP-1550 are kept in a sealed 5 meter by 5 meter terrarium, which simulates desert conditions. This terrarium is monitored via electronic surveillance, and each of the specimens is implanted with a tracking device. If one or more of the specimens escapes, the area is locked down until all of the creatures have been captured and placed back in their terrarium. All SCP-1550 eggs are kept in their packaging unless being used for testing. As the Foundation does not want the population of adult specimens to exceed 20 at any given time, excess specimens are terminated. Honestly, that makes me a little sad. I'd be happy to take them in if the research team can't keep them. But I digress. Having a pet is a big responsibility, and some people just can't handle the risks and rewards that come with caring for an animal, especially one that can become an accidental weapon if you're not careful. If your child is begging you for a pet, maybe you should start them out with a goldfish first. A goldfish never burnt the house down, though I suppose there's a first time for everything. I hope you enjoyed this anomaly, which was recommended by Dr. Bob Squad researcher, the Be Quick. If you want to assist in recommending and choosing future anomalies to be analyzed, you too can join the Dr. Bob Squad by going to patreon.com/Dr. Bob. Now go and watch another entry from the files of Dr. Bob, like SCP-693, Naughty Stalker, or looks inside the nightmarish toy box of the SCP Foundation. And make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss a single anomaly as we delve further and further into the SCP Foundation's classified archives.
Like, do I put full-length reactions? But then, I mean, of course, not the actual video, because that'd be illegal. But let's say just this of me reacting, and like, hey, this is the timer, so when it starts. But then you can only put up videos that are, I think it's 200 megabytes. But I don't know. Maybe I'll figure out something with it. But that's interesting. It's not as bad as I thought. I mean, yeah, you can get Charizard, or you can get Jigglypuff. You know, it seems to be dependent on what environment you put it in. But why did one girl that she got like a soft plushy thing that purred like a kitten and didn't have a mouth, and the other girl got like a fire-breathing lizard. And then like that other guy, he put it in like something that would mimic like deep sea pressure, and he got an anglerfish. So it seems to try to work with in the limits of I don't want to say reality, but I guess reality, but like physics. Like, it's like, oh, because it became an anglerfish when he put it in seawater and turned the pressure down, or I guess turned the pressure up, and it became an anglerfish. Like, oh, those fish are in deep sea waters, where they can withstand high pressure underwater. So that makes sense. But then it showed the thing had like a tentacle tail, and I don't know what, almost like a dinosaur slash like mammal or some shit. And then the other thing looked like, I don't know what the fuck that thing looked like. But that one, the one that they put it like in a desert type environment. And I mean, they all seem to kind of have a camouflage where they look like their environments somewhat. And then I remember he put the one in the freshwater, and it didn't have gills. It was like a mammal where it had breathe oxygen, but it had large lungs. So I guess it could hold its breath for long periods of time. Interesting. So I mean, it wasn't as dark as I thought. I thought it was gonna be like, oh, this is gonna be horrible. Like this, these animals all eat humans or some shit, or they like feed on dreams, and people are like they put the owners in like deep, um, like almost like chemically induced comas, and they just don't wake up unless you kill the creature or something. But it could be good. It could be bad. It's like a mystery box, but then it depends on the environment you put it in. I wonder if you put it in the exact same environment, but in a different location, will you get the exact same animal or creature or whatever? Like I wonder, or if it's like very specific. Like there's even a slight difference. Like if you put it in one of those eggs in a desert environment that gets rainfall like 2% of the year, will you get a different animal if you put it also in a desert, but over in this desert it gets rainfall 10% a year? Like, will it be a different animal? Will it be the same? You know, but interesting, very very interesting. Isn't that what was that Wondertainment? Isn't that another SCP that has like a freak show or a circus or something like that? Like it kidnaps kids and like changes them or something. I feel like I've seen that before. It's been a while. I'm still intoxicated, even though it's like almost 7 in the morning. But I started drinking early. It's the fourth now, so it's okay. And I'm off, so I can do whatever I want. Interesting, but interesting SCP. Anyway, hope you all enjoyed my reaction. And I saw they had the real monsters thing. I was like, except it had jagged teeth. But I remember the other one just had like human teeth and talked like it was from like a New York cabbie or some shit. I'm surprised they didn't have the little snake thing. Well, I guess they can't do too much. You know, they pretty probably like, and they changed it enough where we don't want somebody to see this, and then the people who own that like, get sued or something. But I remember watching that when I was younger. I was, it was like because I came on Saturday mornings. I remember it was one of the last cartoons that came on in the morning. Well, I think it was like around early afternoon, like around afternoon, like after 12 noon. Because I remember watching it, and then they changed the time where they started showing it every day, but then they showed it later in the afternoon. But then at that point, I wasn't really watching it anymore. I just watched so many cartoons. I remember Rocco's Modern Life just come on, but that was like one of the later. Like that came on, I think around like 1 or some shit like that. So one of the earlier cartoons when I was still watching it was when they did a cartoon of Carmen San Diego. Because I think was it before then they had the game show. I don't remember what time that's coming. I might be mistaken. I think I just might have watched that in class, my social studies class or my geography class. Oh, geography, geometry. No, I'm sorry, geography. Yeah, geometry is math. Geography class, where we watched episodes of Carmen San Diego. But yeah, I remember that thing. I was trying to think of any of those monsters, other monsters from that show, but I can't remember. I remember that thing with the eyes holding his eyes, and then the snake. And I can't remember that because it was three of them that were like the main monsters. They basically like the, kind of like the, what's that movie, Monsters Inc. kind of thing. But it's not a long time since I've seen that show. But anyway, hope you all enjoyed my reaction. And if you did, make sure to hit that thumbs up button down below. Make sure to subscribe if you're here. Hit that bell or you want to be notified when I upload new videos. Comment down below. Share this video. I'll see y'all next time. Peace.